Good evening, everyone. So, today we are going to give a presentation on the topic of faith in difficult times. And I am going to take this topic from the book of Job. So, all of us have sufferings, right? These sufferings may come in different forms like pain, stress, loneliness, and discouragement. But the main question here is, have we trusted God with faith in these times? Job is one of the best examples of faith in the Old Testament. His story is not just only about suffering, but how he trusted God even in those times. So, today I'm going to take you through his life story and explain what we can learn from it. So, let's begin. Job's life before suffering started on him. Job lived in a very peaceful house and a perfect life. He was very rich, respected, liked by all. He was having a very great family and he was blessed for this. He had many servants, many people with him who are working under him, taking good care of him, his relatives with him, and mainly he also had many animals with him. Moreover, he was a very God fearing man, honest, righteous, and just. He prayed every day for not only for himself but also for his children. This shows us that faith was the foundation of Job before suffering even started on him. So, one day, when God was sitting on his throne, his angels came towards him with Satan. God told to them, "Look at my servant Job, a righteous and upright one who is very faithful towards me and honest." But Satan replied to his comment saying that Job is just faithful towards you because you have blessed him abundantly. If you take away all of these blessings which he has, he will turn away from you. So, God accepted the challenge, believing very hard in Job, even when Satan tempted him. So, God allows the test to be run on Job. But God says to Satan that you have limits for your power. You cannot take away Job's life. So, this thing tells us here that even when we feel life is not under our control, God still has everything planned for us ahead. So, Job loses everything. When Job Job, when he was in his house, message after message came to him, telling that his animals were stolen, his servants were killed, his children died. Job was very heartbroken. He cried in grief. But the main thing here is he did not give up on God. He trusted very deeply in God in those days. He said to the people who came to comfort him that God gave me and now God has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. So this shows us what is true faith. Moving on, Job's suffering. As all of these things were not enough for him, Satan cursed him even more. He got many scars in his body and his health issues were out of the reach. Even his wife insisted that he may curse God and leave him completely and die. But Job insisted to her, telling that why do we only accept when God gives us blessings and not accept his troubles? This shows us that even when life feels very difficult for us, we should trust God. Even when we don't understand what is happening towards us, we should only be faithful towards Him. So, moving on, Job's friends. When he was in this midst of his suffering, his three friends came to him to comfort him: Zophar, Bildad, and Elihu. So, when they were with him, they acted in two different ways. First, they were with him, comforting him and grieving with him, but later they turned against him. They all said to each other, and then they finally said to Job, "You have done something which is very wrong. So, this is the reason why God is punishing you. You have committed some evil in God's sight." But Job did nothing of this, and they were completely wrong. Job, uh, Job defended himself by saying many things against their replies. But he also did not understand why these things were only happening to him. But he remained faithful even in these times. This shows us that troubles may come in any different way. Even the ones who we trust the most may also betray us. But we should never lose our trust in God. God speaks to Job in these situations. God saw all of these sufferings which Job was undergoing. So he decided to speak to him. When God spoke, he did not speak directly like how we speak to others. He spoke to Job in a whirlwind, saying that, "Where were you when I created all of the things which live on earth?" Job understood this as God showed his power through all of his creations. When Job believed that God is knowing everything and God is the Almighty. Shows us that God is a just and loving God for us. And we can trust in him blindly because he's the one. Then restoration of Job. When after all of these sufferings ended for him, God blessed him abundantly. God gave double the wealth which Job had at the first place. He gave his family back and he gave a new beautiful home for him and made Job live a long life. He also corrected Job's friends and made the evil from them to go away. So this shows us that faith is not just coming after us to test our troubles are not just coming after us to test if our faith is bad, but they come to us because our faith is way stronger than they think. So let me explain this with a story for you. There was a boy who worked very hard for his exam. He studied very hard, he learned every day and night, he spent long nights preparing for him. But when the exam came, he failed. He was broken, rejected, and disgraced. He was very he was very deep in sorrow. Then he asked God, "I worked so hard. I trusted in you, but why did this happen to me?" Days passed. His grieving even got worse. At the time where he could not even eat his dinner, but instead of giving up, he went for confession and he trusted more in God. He was very faithful these times. He gave his everything and he attempted the exam again. He studied even harder these times, but this time he actually succeeds. He was very confident and he became stronger, wiser, and more confident in God. This shows us that something. His failure was not the end. It was his test that made him stronger. Just like that boy, Job also went through sufferings, confusion, and pain, but he never gave up his faith. He trusted in God and took care of him. So,
To conclude, the story from the book of Job teaches us a very important lesson about faith in difficult times. Job was a good and faithful man, yet he faced great suffering. He lost his wealth, his children, and even his health. Still, he did not lose his trust in God. This shows us that faith is not about having an easy life, but about trusting God even when life is hard. In our daily life, we also face many challenges like studies, failures, health problems, or family difficulties. During such times, we may feel sad or confused. But like Job, we should remain patient and continue to believe that God has a purpose for everything. Another important lesson is that we should not judge others when they are suffering. Instead, we should support and encourage them. Even though Job suffered a lot, in the end, God blessed him again and restored everything. This reminds us that difficult times are temporary, but faith will always lead us to something better. So, let us learn from Job to stay strong, be patient, and keep our faith in God in all situations. Amen.